small subject which I call development within the community of God, or development in the church, because there are a lot of times we encounter our Protestant friends, and when they see our liturgy, when they see our churches, when they see our clergy, when they see overall the external sides of orthodoxy, they say, oh, this is not what the apostles had used to do, this is not what apostles looked like, this is not what they worship like. Because when they read the book of Acts, and when we read the book of Acts, we find that they used to gather at homes for the divine liturgy, for the worship, for the Eucharist. And they of course did not have big temples, the big churches. In the Orthodoxy we call them temple, not the church, because church is the community of God, while temple is a place where we worship God. So they did not have big temples as we have them today. They did not have big icons like we have it today. They did not. Their worship was more simple. Their worship did not include a lot of big ceremonies, and therefore, people who want to follow the real Christianity, the apostolic Christianity, they say that we should follow this model of the apostles given in the Acts of the Apostles, which was very simple in its external forms. And that's true, but that's partially true, because you cannot follow that unless you will follow it incorrectly, and we will see in today's topic why it is that. Yeah, let me share my screen and then we will begin. Let me know when you will see the screen, when you will see my screen. So that I can begin. Is my screen visible?
Yes, it's visible.
Okay. Although I have named it in the file like development of the church, but it should be called like development of the community of God, development within the community of God. Now I will ask you some questions. I will ask one question. So please open your mics and let me know what you think. So tell me who is what happened now? Well, who is this? Does anyone know? Please open your mics. And don't write, because I will not get your messages because of the full screen. Does anyone know who is this?
No idea, Father. But is it Gandhi?
We'll see that. Who is that? Okay. Okay. Now let me tell me who is this? Who is this boy? Any idea?
No idea.
Who is this man? This young man. Who is this one?
Is that Gandhi again?
He looks like Gandhi.
Who is this man?
Gandhi.
Okay, that's good. Who is this man? Yeah, who is this man? I can't hear you.
No idea.
And who is this man? Well, everybody knows this is Mahatma Gandhi, yeah?
Yeah, definitely.
So from the first picture to this one, it was all Mahatma Gandhi, from his childhood to his old age. Okay. So, but like Simon guessed in his childhood that it is Mahatma Gandhi, but not everybody knows. Yeah, and not everybody is familiar with his childhood pictures or his adulthood pictures. What people are familiar with is his old age pictures. They don't know how Gandhi looked like in his childhood or when he was a teenager. Yeah, what we imagine Gandhi has always been like this, old man. This is how we imagine. But that's not true. He was born as a babe and then grew, he grew up in a child, then a teenager, and then man, young man, then old man. Yeah. So what is the principle there? That every living organism develops from simple to complex. Yeah. So even when a child is born, he's very tiny, little baby, and like in that example of Mahatma Gandhi, we don't recognize his childhood picture or his childhood form. What we recognize is the way he was famous in his old age. The same way we see here, a seed is sown there, then it gets sprouted, then it grows into plant, and then a tree. But what is common in the matter of Gandhi and this picture of life of plants is that in essence they are one and the same. In essence they are one and the same, but their external form is constantly changing. It's growing from simple to complex. Yeah, that's what we encounter in the world. It grows from
That's
simple to complex. Yeah.
sorry, Father. But, I mean, just linking it to our previous lectures. Uh, isn't like something like Platonism, like universals and particulars?
No, no, no. I'm just giving a simple world example. No philosophy included in it. Simple,
Okay.
only observation, based on observation, nothing else. Okay. So what my purpose of saying is that everything that lives changes its outward form. Okay. So what we see in the next image, it's a river from its beginning till its end when it joins the sea. We see that in the first phase it was very small, some streams of water, and then it grew a little bigger, 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 and there was a fall there. So it's unrecognizable in the fourth stage. It's unrecognizable in the fifth stage because now it's taking turn. In the sixth stage, it is taking turn again. In the seventh, it's growing a little bigger one. Yeah. In the 10th one, it's completely different one. So if you see the 10th picture, if you are standing at the place where the 10th number is marked, it will look completely different from how it will look at the mark where the number 1 is marked. Yeah. So it's making a progress, it's making a development from something simpler to something complex, something its outward form is changing, but the water is same, its properties are same, the essence is same, only the outward form is changing. That's what in the human life we see. That's what we saw in the life of Gandhi. Yeah, from childhood to old age. In the process of development, an organism remains same in its essence, but in form it changes. During the different phases of development, it may become unrecognizable for an outsider, like we are outsider for Gandhi. But if I show those pictures to his grandson, he will immediately recognize, yeah, this is my great grandfather in his childhood. Yeah. If I see Simon's childhood picture, I may not recognize. But if his father will see, if his friends will see, they will recognize, oh, this is Simon in his childhood. Yeah. But I, as an outsider, will not be able to recognize. And that's what happens when someone who is outside of the church do not recognize the development that occurred within the church. They want to see the church as it was 2000 years ago in its infancy. And that's why they want to base their so-called community, their church model on the base of the Acts of the Apostles. So they don't want the child to grow up into an adult. They want it to remain as it is forever. But the fact is that any organization, any human being, any living being, it always develops, it grows and it changes its form. But in essence, it remains the same. Yeah. So what Protestants are expecting is completely irrational. That does not happen. That did not happen in the Old Testament either. So we will see some of the Old Testament examples of the development within the Old Testament community of God. Yeah. We know in the first 5 books of the Old Testament, that is the Torah, God gave different instructions to Moses. And in those 5 books, we see God giving Moses instructions of different feasts, of festivals, and different ceremonies and different rituals. You will not find new institution of rituals or feasts in other parts of the Old Testament. All they were given during the life of Moses. So the Old Testament feasts, festivals, rituals, everything were ordained by God Himself, and that is why Jews followed those festivals and feasts throughout the history, even today. But very important thing, we know even today Jews celebrate a festival, a feast called Purim, which is mentioned in the book of Esther, 9th chapter. Why they follow this feast? Because we know that the king Xerxes, he wanted to no he not he, but the opponents of the Jews wanted Haman, the opponent of Jews, wanted to destroy all the Jews. So he started manipulating king, etc., and he got the order. But Mordecai, who was uncle of Queen Esther, he convinced her because she was now the queen of the king, at least one of the queens. So he convinced her to appear before the king and intercede for the Jewish people. But we know that it was not possible to appear before the king without the appointment. It could result in death. So what Esther asked, she asked people to fast for 3 days, and only after that she appeared before the king and made request, and that's how the Jewish people were saved from the massacre. And in honor of that event, the new feast was ordained by Queen Esther and her uncle Mordecai. It was not ordained by God. They were humans. The humans instituted a feast which was not ordained by God, yet we know even Jesus followed this festival. He himself observed it, even though it was not ordained by God. So what we see, God did not ordain it. It was ordained by humans, yet it was confirmed by God in flesh. Another example is the Hanukkah, which Jewish people celebrate in December. It is the feast of dedication, the feast of dedication of the second temple, because when the Greek Empire was divided into four, I mean the empire of Alexander the Great was divided into four generals, divided among the four generals, and the eastern part fell to Antiochus Epiphanes. And Antiochus wanted Jews to follow. Antiochus wanted Jews to follow their pagan customs, but they resisted. So what Antiochus did? He brought a pig in the temple of God and slaughtered it on the altar, thereby defiling it. Yeah. So when the Jews, the Hasmonean Empire, the Hasmonean kingdom, not empire, the Maccabees, yeah, the Maccabees, which are known by name Maccabees, and their history is mentioned in the first, second, and third book of Maccabees, and we read there that the Maccabees, the Hasmoneans, this Jewish priestly line, they took the leadership and they regained Jerusalem and rededicated, cleansed it, and then they rededicated this temple to God and ordered all Jewish people to celebrate feast in memory of this event. And in the New Testament, we find that even Jesus observed this feast. Yeah. So even though Hanukkah was ordained by men, by humans, not by God, it was confirmed by God in flesh. So there we see developments concerning the festivals. Yeah, because the festival were not something like we see in India. Like you can invent any festival, any every single day, and you can just make fun. But that's not what happened in the Old Testament. Every single feast has a particular meaning in it. Yeah, and therefore they pointed towards something that is coming in the New Testament. So therefore, they were very important. Nobody had authority to do everything what they wanted, as we have it today. So we see without God ordaining this feast were ordained by humans, but yet confirmed by the Son of God, the incarnated Word of God in the New Testament. And this happened within the Jewish community, within the community of the Old Testament. But there were and there are some Jewish people, a Jewish community outside of this community, and these are called as Beta Israel. We already talked about them when we went through the topic of biblical canon. So these Beta Israel, these are Ethiopian Jews, and these Ethiopian Jews do not observe the feast of Purim or Hanukkah or any other feast that came after the Torah. So it means any feast which was not exclusively ordained by God, they do not follow it. Why? Because they were never part of the Jewish community which was there in Israel. These people were in Ethiopia. So what we see here, only those people follow this feast which were inside the community, because they know what happened and why we follow this feast. But the people, although they believed in the same God, although they believed they had the same scriptures, they did not observe those festivals. Why? Because they were outside of the community which had the development. Yeah? You are getting the point. Yeah. That is why the development within the community is observed by the community itself, not by the outsiders. That's what happens in the New Testament church as well. Yeah, we will talk about that little bit later. In the pictures, you can see Queen Esther there requesting the king. Yeah. One more example from the Old Testament of the development is of the Passover ritual. We know how the feast of Passover was instituted. The Jewish people were in in Egypt, oppressed by the Egyptians. So God sent Moses there, and Pharaoh did not listen. Let my people go, but he didn't listen. So God sent 10 plagues over Egypt, and the 10th plague was the death of firstborn sons. And before that, God asked the Jewish people, not the Jewish people, but the Israelites, because Jews as Jews did not existed back then. They were Israelites. So God commanded Israelites to sacrifice a blameless lamb and apply its blood on their doorpost, and then eat that lamb at night with their family. And he gave special instructions. You have to eat that lamb and the meal ordered by God standing. You have to eat the bread, not the leavened bread as they usually eat. Leavened bread means the pav which we eat. Yeah, which that means anything that is included, the bread which has yeast in it. Yeah. So, but at this point, God commanded them to eat not the leavened bread, but the unleavened bread without yeast. Why? To signify, God Himself says in the Bible, to signify that they are in hurry, they don't have time to put yeast and wait and then bake the bread. Therefore, they were commanded to stay stand, keep their sticks and their luggage in with them, and eat everything God commanded by standing. And and there only at this place we find God commanding how to observe the feast of Passover. Yet by the time of Jesus Christ, the ritual was changed. Now, although God did not command people to sit down, yet at the time of Jesus, Jewish people celebrated or ate the meal by reclining, not even sitting, but reclining on the floor. You can see the second picture. I hope you can see it clearly. People used to recline, not like we see the scene of the Last Supper where people are like sitting and eating. So people used to recline on the floor and eat, while God Himself ordained or commanded to eat it while standing. Yeah, so we see even the way of following certain things changed by the time of Jesus. Yet Jesus did not rebuke it, rather He Himself followed it. He confirmed it by His own example. Yeah. So what we have seen,
Uh,
there are some noises there.
uh,
Okay, so we see the development concerning the feast within the Jewish community. We, the Old Testament community, we see the development within concerning the rituals within the community, Old Testament community. Now, what we see, next slide. Okay. Next development within the Old Testament community, it was the temple. We know that God ordained, God commanded Moses to build a tabernacle. Yeah, it was not a temple. You can see the first picture. It was a tent. Yeah, that's why in the English translation says tent of meeting. It was a tent. It was a tabernacle. It was not a temple. It was not a building made of stones. But it was a proposal made by David to God. God did not ask people to build his temple. It was David who used to live in the palace and said, I live in the palace, but my God lives in the tabernacle, in the tent. So he felt very bad that he lives in luxurious life, but the temple of God, the tabernacle of God is very poor. So he wanted himself to build the temple, but God did not ask him to build the temple. So David built the temple.
Hello, Fan. We can't hear anything. Audio isn't working.